I'm Mackie here, and welcome to the Mid-Season Madness Review Day 1 for the Mid-Season Invitational in 2026. Now, here is the thing. These are the stats that I've got from a website, of course, and these are going to tell me who's the best performing player on the team in each and every game. My three stars of the series, which is like one star being the best player, two stars the second best player, three stars the third best player, and my team of the series is pretty much simple: the worst performing player on that team. And as you can see, of course, I already did it with T Law T1 and then KC DCG. And to be honest, the series was not even close. Although you can say that T-Law T1 has some really interesting stuff, especially in draft. And I have to say that if you're a T-Law fan, this is expected, but you're like kind of in there, especially game two, in which you feel like you could have a chance, at least. You could have a chance. Now, here's the thing. I would love to talk about all of this, talking stats, talking numbers, and all kind of stuff. But let's be honest, that would be boring to you guys, especially given the content algorithm that you're seeing. You just want them, cool explanations about drafts and all kind of stuff. Well, here's the problem. I can't provide that. But, but I know someone will. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time to welcome back to Poro. Now, in case many people do not know, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for liking my tweet about the Poro thumbnail thing, his Poro drawing thumbnail thing. I didn't realize the amount of likes I got from that thing. I just posted that thing and saying, "Oh, that looks cool. I can make it a tier list and be cool about it." But man, I didn't realize it was that cool. I also did it in the Reddit, and also it was cool as well. And the fact I got it from Poro himself, and he got liked. So it was really cool. It was really cool seeing so many people liking that specific thing. It was a simple thing, but my God, you guys came through. So I want to thank each and every one of you. I'm just trying to. Wow, it's still going. Wow, it's still going. It is still going. Wow. Anyways, thank you all for commenting about it and liking about it and talk about it and all kind of stuff. And it makes this. I mean, listen, I am kind of like the driver for Poro's channel, of course. I'm like the passenger seat. He's the driver, of course. He's the one that is making all the content and all kind of stuff, and he's probably the reason why I'm doing this in this whole content game, even though I'm like a small audience. But he's the reason why I'm doing this right now. So if you want, please go subscribe to his channel, like, comment, subscribe, do all this kind of stuff. And also, you supporting him is all going to support me. So if you do that, you can also like, comment, subscribe to my channel and for all this kind of stuff. So here's the explanation. He's going to do something that is a little different from mine's, but I think we're going to be in the same thing. He's going to tell you the drafts. He's going to tell you the star players. He's going to tell you how they performed and all kinds of stuff. So without further ado, it is time for me to introduce Poro to the day one breakdown of both series. Take it away, my boy.
T1 and TL, and another with Casey versus Deep Cross. The winners move on to round 2, and the losers drop into the loser bracket where they'll risk elimination. Since we're starting out, I have a few things to say about the video series, such as how it works and what the plans are for the tournament. For anyone here for the first time, the format is simple. We'll recap the matches by briefly talking about draft, going through the events of each game, and then giving players ratings for their performance. The rating system may seem weird at first, but it's fairly simple. I score performances out of 10, with each point being represented as 1.5 star on the graphics. 3.5 stars is a 7 out of 10. Unlike a traditional rating,
Also,
1.5 star on the graphics. 3.5 stars is a 7 out of 10.
Also, in case many people do not know basic math, like 95% of you guys, that is 1.5. That's one, two. Hold no. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. Half. That is one. This is two. Okay, sorry. That is two. That is four. That is six. And that half star represents one, so that's seven. Pretty simple. So, trying to make sure I don't dumbify myself. Moving on.
10. Unlike a traditional rating where people start at a 10 out of 10 and go down, I start everyone at a 5 out of 10, smack in the middle, and move them up or down based on a few factors. To summarize, the ratings go up or down based on the player's impact within the game relative to the expectations their champion has within that draft. The idea is that a player won't be punished as hard for being stuck in an impossible situation that wasn't their fault, but they also won't receive extra credit for getting carried. It's also worth mentioning that I'm pretty stingy with my ratings, and extremely high or low scores are rare. In my opinion, a 10 out of 10 should be reserved for all-time great performances that will be remembered for years to come, and these types of games only happen a few times a year at best. At Worlds 2025, I gave out a couple of 9s, but nobody got a 10. Most scores will fall in the middle, between 3 and 7, and anything outside of that is a pretty big outlier. With the explanations out of the way, let's talk about the two series we have today and what my predictions for them will be. With T1 versus TL, I'm predicting a 3-0 for T1 as they are the heavy favorites to make it out of play-ins. Stylistically, I think TL play way too slow and will be overwhelmed by T1's aggression, as well as their superior mid to late game macro. Then, for KC versus Deep Cross, I'll go KC 3-1. Deep Cross are chaotic and
Yo, hold up, man. I had them 3-0. I mean, listen, I got the prediction right, but the scoreline,
mechanically talented team, so I'll give them a game where they overrun KC in fights and manage to not throw. Generally though, KC's team fighting and map movements are way cleaner, so I don't see a world where Deep Cross can be consistent enough to win 3 games. Nothing else to say, so let's get right into TL versus T1.
Okay, so let me just explain to you one more time in case maybe people don't know. He's going to do the drafts and, of course, the highlights and give us his team performances. I will give you the stats. Okay, I will tell you who's the best player on the stats, and then we go from there. And after that, he's going to do game 2 and then game 3, and then maybe further if we go further in the series, maybe 4 and 5. And then after that, of course, I will give you my team of the series and all the kind of stuff. Okay, so he will give you the drafts, the analysis, and all kinds of stuff. I will provide you the numbers. That's simple. So he's probably going to do like 80% of the job. I do like 20%. It is what it is.
Game 1 draft was super interesting from both sides. T1 committed to the early Orianna, and TL...
Oh, okay. Whoop. Okay, hold up. I should just go like this. Yeah, because I need to like see the drafts and everything like that. Got it. Moving on, Poro. Yeah.
Responded with good side lane action with the Akali. Both sides also wanted super powerful bot lanes, with TL snapping up the Caitlyn Bard, and T1 responding Mel Camille. I'm unsure about how I feel going Mel that early. Ziggs in the same spot would have been a more consistent option. Then T1 ended up blinding Dor and Gnar, which gave TL an angle to get 2 winning side lanes, which they promptly did with a spicy Yasuo. Overall, I think TL's draft is winnable in theory. 3 strong lanes, good side lanes in mid-game, and the enemy Orianna doesn't have any insanely strong combos. However, it's a hard comp to execute as these champions want to do different things. Wukong isn't a side lane hovering type of champion, he wants to team fight. The other picks for TL are champions who want to catch people out or play for individual advantages, so TL will have to be very smart if they want to convert this advantage in mid-game. I don't trust them and I think T1 will win, but I don't dislike what TL are trying to do. In the game, TL made it interesting at a few points.
And that's going to be the theme for this entire series, is that other than game 3, when this entire thing goes away, I think you could say that T Liquid's drafts in games 1 and 2 are just fine. They're good. But it's just, well, Poro will explain it, of course. Take it away.
Points. Jose initiated a nice level 1 vertical jungle sequence, and the bot lane was able to use this to get a sizable lead. Caitlyn Bard were outlaning at first, as all of T1's pots had to be burned at suboptimal times, and Yon even found a timer to trade his ghost for Mel's flash for a big lane lead. Everything went to shit at 9 minutes though, as TL saw an angle to go for a bot lane 2v2 kill, but mechanically screwed it up. Pace still has no flash and should definitely die on this timer, but Yon doesn't flash the Mel route, and in the extended fight, he's chased down and killed, eliminating TL's only advantage. From here, Paze and Keria completely dominate Yon at every possible turn, with clean dives and constant pressure to ensure that Caitlyn can never get back into the game. Part of it is just knowledge gap from Yon not knowing the limits of Camille's support since the LCS never picked it up, but part of it is also just Keria and Paze playing it very well. It's also notable at this point that Faker was the beneficiary of some various skirmishes, and picked up some kills to get himself very fed. With the game slipping away, TL tried to pull the trigger aggressively to get back in at 18 minutes. Bard, Wukong, Yasuo, and Akali all dove onto the backline, and the result was all 3 of them dying, but in trade for a huge Pace shutdown. TL then set up a trap on Faker, grabbing the Orianna shutdown on side as well. This made it so their solo laners were slightly relevant in the game, but the gold lead was still heavily in T1's favor. TL would get 2 more chances to swing the game back in their favor. The first was slightly before the Orianna side lane pick, as Owner and Faker stepped up to take a red buff right after the team fight with no ult and no flash. Core JJ identified this was their best chance to come back into the game and get more kills, but Yon wasn't willing to full send the potentially winning 2v2, opting for peace and giving up the angle to let his bard die. The second chance was a big teamfight angle 5 minutes later. Keria shot forward to engage onto Bard, but Court was able to ult himself and then flash out, and Faker then missed his shockwave on the Yasuo teleport. With that big tool down, TL knew they had to full commit, so Jose, Morgan, and
Oh,
Quid all launched themselves into the enemy
brilliant.
team. The initial engage was basically best case scenario, but the Akali R2 didn't find its targets, and even if it had, there's a chance T1 were just too far ahead anyway, and the fight turned into a 5-for-1 ace.
Like,
T1 got a Baron and ended the game shortly
yep.
after. Right away in the first game, some of TL's domestic weaknesses were shown. Even with 3 winning lanes, not much was done in the top side that was able to progress the game forward until Morgan stumbled into some free kills, and Yon was completely mechanically gapped by Paze and Carrier in the 2v2, which led to the Caitlyn never being relevant at any point despite being
Okay, I think I should. I think I block like the objectives, and I think the timer right there. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah. All right. So this was a 26-minute game, but I don't feel like a 26-minute game. Consider, I think Poro said the T1 mishaps, as per usual, as I said. T1 are gettable in some cases, but I'm not sure they're like. I feel like Team Liquid or any other team in the play-ins can even get them. Maybe Common Core might do it. But yeah.
given the chance to. TL's draft and initial prep were interesting, but at the end of the day, it seems like they can't overcome the fact that T1 just have much better players. Game 2 draft was also
All right. So we get to game two. And if you notice a statistical anomaly, of course, Faker was the MVP of that game. He was decently great on Orion, of course, 7-1-11 with an 18 KDA, 72% kill participation, and 25k damage. And I think he said it best. I think this is more of like, I think you can say that I should have given Carrier the MVP of that series, but of course, stats and community said otherwise. But man, Carrier and Pays in that ball lane was just absolutely dynamite. Absolutely dynamite in that ball lane. And while I'll listen, I'll give TL credit on that the drafting was good and all kind of stuff, but it's like, yeah, yeah. It was just too much. It's yeah. This is like I said, of course, T1's gonna struggle a little bit. Domestically, they're not as clean as some of the other teams, but when it comes to team fighting and all kind of stuff, they were just way better. And speaking of team fighting and all kind of stuff, onwards to game two.
also interesting, as both sides had some counters that may lead to varying levels of success. T1 protect banned for Ryze and then first picked it, and TL once again went for the early bot lane priority, grabbing Senna Nautilus blind, to which T1 responded Callisto Renata. Now the name of the game is stopping that Callisto from snowballing, and TL go for the Talia matchup into the Ryze with the idea of having a tool to send bot to help the Senna at some point. In my opinion, at this point TL are looking for either Jarvan or Pantheon, champions who can click bot early and help Senna while pairing well with Talia later. No big CC junglers were banned on 4-5, so everything is up. T1 protect banned for Ambessa, and TL snapped up the rumble knowing that a CC jungler is coming next. T1 grabs the standard Vi Ambessa combo, and then seeing 3 dashes on the enemy team, Jose grabs the Poppy last pick. The Poppy has a lot of upsides and downsides, and is a big deciding factor for if the draft is winning for TL or not. What Poppy does do is counter all of the dashes T1 have for later in the game, as well as provide CC for Equalizer and act as a combo with Talia ult. I can see the vision. However, Poppy doesn't do one very important thing, and it's have the ability to help Senna out in early levels against the Callista. I really wish TL had stuck with the original plan, because my prediction is that Callista will run over this early game and snowball to oblivion. The only way TL wins is if they can weather that storm somehow. Right away, T1 did in fact start clapping the shit out of TL in the bot lane. Owner went for an early dive, which resulted in a 2-for-1 in favor of TL, but notably the Callista got the 1 kill. On the third Scuttle Crab, Carrier found a nice flash hook angle onto the Senna trying to walk in, and Pace picked up 2 more kills from the fight, now being 3-0. The game remained bot side focused as TL tried to go for a play to kill Callista, but Pace was able to survive the initial burst, and the play went 1-for-1 as Quid had to roam all the way down to pick up the kill. At this point, I thought the game was over and that T1 would snowball easily through Callista. However, the teams had other plans. In a very close 4v4 fight at 12 minutes, T1 full sent an engage onto Poppy to try to one-shot her, but a slight miscalculation in damage meant that the Poppy survived, the Callista didn't get her rend reset, and the Renata didn't get the bailout proc onto Vi. This resulted in huge disaster for T1, as they lost the fight 4-for-1 and gave the enemy Talia a triple kill. Then Morgan solo killed Doran bot side, his second solo kill on Doran of the game by the way, and T1 would continue to make things even worse for themselves by showing up to the Herald. At this Herald sequence, Owner ulted in way too deep before anyone on his team was around for the follow-up, and he essentially killed himself. Then Core found a flash hook onto Callista, sealing the deal on this fight as well. At 17 minutes, Owner got caught out too far forward once again, this time in mid lane trying to defend a Herald crash, and this resulted in TL getting 2 more kills, opening up the gold lead to 5k. Feeling desperate, Paze and Keria sent it on a 2v2, but Jose hadn't finished recalling yet and he came over to give TL numbers, resulting in 2 more kills and a 6k gold lead. At this point, it should be a guaranteed win for TL, as T1's comp doesn't function against TL's anti-engage tools.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. At this point, you're thinking, oh, T-Law is going to easily win game 2, and then we're going to go to a tie series, and maybe we can give us hope. But that's North American League of Legends, man. If you give them a tiny little hope, you know what they did? Crush them into tiny little bite-sized pieces. And now we continue.
T1 have the international magic buff though, as they were about to piece together the perfect series of events to attempt an impossible comeback. First, Quid bought a Seeker's Arm Guard and then proceeded to fat finger it in his own jungle. 2 minutes later, Owner and Faker made a surprise play top at the enemy's tier 2
Wait, what?
in his own jungle. Comeback. First, Quid bought a Seeker's Arm Guard and then proceeded to fat finger it in his own.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard from Nymera and Initialize on the stream last night, or probably this morning, I don't care, is that he bought the arm guard and he kind of broke it. I think he brought an arm card and I think he kind of accidentally broke it at that time. It's like, oh my god. It's like, what? What? Oh. Quid, dude. Quid. Like, that is just... It's like, it's the smallest mistakes. It's like the smallest mistakes against a team like T1, when you have them on the ropes, it's going to be magnified hugely. It's like a butterfly effect. It's like it flaps your wings and it spreads and spreads and spreads and grows bigger. And if you give the smallest mistakes, the tiniest inch of mistakes, like, yeah, it's just one of those, golden statues kind of stuff, but T1 sees that as a weakness. And if you do that small little weakness is going to be like catastrophic. So Quid, man, just absolutely making a massive mistake. It is like, it wasn't a big mistake at the time, but it was like, it's a culmination of like small mistakes snowball into major ones, and this is kind of like the first sign of a major catastrophe. But I'll let Poro finish the disaster class that is the T-Law.
Jungle. 2 minutes later, Owner and Faker made a surprise play top at the enemy's tier 2, catching out the Talia and killing her. 1k gold went to the Rise, and Quid decided to sell his Medjais. Even though the mid lane gold difference appears big, this combination of unfortunate mistakes effectively equalized it. Then, at 24 minutes, T1 pulled their signature move on TL, starting a Baron when they would normally be on a reset timer. TL were completely bamboozled, and T1 got a free Baron to bring the gold...
Morgan, dude, Morgan.
Be on a reset timer.
He could have just equalized. Like, I think he had to equalize. He had equalized right there. I mean, yes, you could have lost the Baron, but you could have just equalized right there and just like save, like, I don't know, like force him to do damage, kill like 1 or 2 people out of the Baron, and maybe you can even out the game. But my god, that Morgan, you could have just equalized. You could have just equalized on the Baron or something. Like, what the hell, dude?
TL were completely bamboozled, and T1 got a free Baron to bring the gold lead to just 3k.
Oh, God.
At the 5th Drake, some pivotal moments would happen that could have sealed the game for TL, but it simply wasn't meant to be. At 29:43, Owner queued forward and hit nothing. If TL snapped on this and went for a hard engage, maybe they could have killed Vi and guaranteed the soul. Nobody reacted though, and Owner got away with missing his aggressive Q for free. Then TL tried to engage onto a Renata who got Callista ulted away, and Faker used a fake Rise ult to make everyone on TL back up, giving T1 time to deal damage to the Drake. Owner then won an extremely clutch 50-50 smite, denying the soul from TL, and in the ensuing fight, Jan walked up right into the face of Rise trying to last a Vi kill, and this caused all of TL to be nuked by the actualizer damage. T1 were able to bring the gold lead all the way down to 1k, and the momentum of the game swung back in their favor. At the next Drake, T1 simply outfought. Jose knocked Carry out of the pit, Core went for an instant engage onto both the Callista and the Rise, and TL tried to turn onto the carries. They lacked damage to kill both though, due to Doran and Owner sending it into the enemy backline and creating space, and with neither T1 carries dying, they were able to turn around and wipe the fight with their cooldowns. It was a 4 for 0 trade, and for the finishing touch, Jose went for a Desperation Smite 50-50, which Owner promptly won again. This one is a super tough loss for TL. They had the comp that outscaled, paired with a massive gold lead, but still found a way to lose the game. It doesn't bode well that Jan was once again severely gapped by Pays at every stage of the game, even when Pays didn't have the strongest showing, and if TL can't close out this one, they're likely not going to win any situation at all. Game 3 gave both sides playable.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just give you my stats. And also, I'm sorry for the low frame rate, of course. Trying to move in different tabs and different programs is just stressful enough for the computer. And by the way, that pretty much is the reason why my last video with him on the preview for BLG kind of crashed. So that sucks. So here's the thing. I will let him finish game 3, and then I will do game 3 POG, my 3 start of the series, my team of the series, and then we go all in on KCDTG. That's cool? Great. Yeah, this was a Kyria masterclass on Renata Glass. 05 and 12, 2.4 KD, 35 kill precipitation, and 8.2k damage. I mean, like you said, man, this game was so T-Law winnable. It was T1 dominated, and then T-Law kind of like dominated the game right back. And it was just a series of mistakes. Like, you arm guard, you cannot break arm guard quit, and you should supposed to get an equalizer on the Baron Morgan. And then it's almost like the they should have been more executing on the third Drake. If they would have done more cleaner, they're gonna get Dragon Soul, and it could have a chance to at least win the game around 30 plus minutes. Instead, they lost the Drake, lost the momentum, and then T1 just like beat T1 themselves and team fight you, and you lost. And at this point, it's like the mental collapse is just absolutely distraught. Now, I think David Shynock is right. Like, all you people who are saying that T-Law players stink and all kinds of stuff, get the F out of here. Get the F out of here. You do not belong here. I understand sometimes it can be a little negative sometimes, but I just wanted to find like only nice things. And I think the only nice things for T-Law is that at least they have a playable draft, and I think they decently do well, and if they scale well, I think they're good, and Jose Dodo on the Poppy looked really good in most cases. So it's not like it was a bad game from T-Law. It was just kind of like an unfortunate series of mistakes that snowballed into a T1 win, which is commonplace when a lower region team, yes, I'm calling LCS a lower region team, sorry about that, facing off against a higher quality team like a T1s and your top esports and your BLGs of the world. If you make mistakes like that, I don't care how good your comp is, you're going to get lost in the sauce, and that's not good. That's not good at all. So this was almost feels like a great game by T-Law, but lost by so many mistakes, and it is what it is. And then game 3 was kind of like, well, it's not pain, but it's like really painful. Poro just finishes off.
Drafts, but I would rather be T1's draft here. They grabbed the Lisa and power pick first, then TL responded with Nocturne Nico for the strong jungle support synergy. In the LCK, an interesting draft strategy teams like to go is that if one team doesn't pick either solo laner on 1-2, the blue side team will blind both solo laners on 2-3, challenging the red team to only be able to counter one, in which they can protect the other one and end up with 3 champions they really want for the comp. T1 does this with Renekton and Annie, making for an insanely powerful 3v3 skirmishing topside. TL end up with double globals though, so there are some angles for them to hard counterpick the Renekton. I think Kennen is a great pick here, able to beat Renekton in lane, and then has all of the map pressure from the Nocturne and Galio to continue snowballing through the entire game. It's another great layering engage tool for fights, pairing super well with Nocturnal and Nico ult. One thing is for sure though, TL need more damage to win fights. When the dust settles, they end up with Varus Zehen, and T1 grabbed Zeri Yumi as a nice thematic counter to what TL have. I don't believe TL ended up with enough clear damage, as Zehen has no obvious targets in fights, and Varus will be outsustained by Yumi. T1 have better skirmishing and better scaling in 5v5, and the only way TL can win is by playing better around the map and funneling their side lanes, which seems hard with these champions. The game started out
Yeah, it feels like where's the damage on this team? Do I really have to trust a Galio to make damage or a Nocturne if he's fall behind in the jungle? Do I really have to trust that? Zaire, fine, but it's like, yeah. And by the way, he's playing on hit Varus. By the way, Yon playing on hit Varus, like, not even Lethality Varus, which is like, yeah, I think Lethality Varus was better, but just on hit Varus. With, by the way, a Zeri that can scale, a Yumi that it's toxic, but it can actually scale, of course. Lee Sin that can just kick one of your carries out of here and into the frying pan. Annie with the CC, Renekton with the CC and the engage and the kills. And it's like, what can you do? It's like T1 has the damage and the scaling to win. You guys have like junk. Decent, but junk either way. Poro, break it down.
Immediately with disaster for TL, Jose decided to go for a coin flip Raptors invade, which I don't really like. I rewatched it and it doesn't seem like TL ever confirmed what ability Lee started. Theoretically, Owner could have held his skill point and then gone Q for the invade to 100% secure the large Raptor, but either way, he ended up going E and winning the smite anyway, in which both Nocturne and Galio ended up dying for it.
And that was game. That was game over at this point. It was like, I'm done. I'm done. Go next. Go next series. I was done. I was literally done. I was done.
With an attempt to accelerate the game, Owner tried a couple of bot lane focused plays. The first one resulted in nothing happening, and the second one started off rough with Pays Eing right into a Varus ult and getting one shot, but Owner was strong enough to make it a 1-for-1. Then T1 tried to go for a top dive with 4 people, but the play was once again defended well, with Galio covering the first half, and Nico arriving to stop T1 from committing to the second half. A whole lot of plays attempted, and no real lead developed for either side apart from the initial invade fail. At 15 minutes, another series of nothing burgers would occur as TL tried to commit to 2 plays at the same time. Morgan teleporting bot to try to kill Doran, and then Nocturne, Nico, and Varus all launching their ults mid to try to win a skirmish. While this time, flashes and ults were burned by both sides across the board, still nobody died and the kill score remained 3-1. At third Drake, there was finally a sequence that resulted in progress. Nocturne is no way to outsmite Lee Sin, so when T1 established position of the Drake, them getting soul point was basically a guarantee. It doesn't mean TL have no options though, and they decided to play for the fight on the moment that T1 stepped up to give Owner space to smite the Drake.
Huge.
On that timer, Core found a great flash Nico ult, and the rest of the engaged tools layered nicely off of it to grant TL 3 kills, and then Pays extended the play with weird Herald shenanigans, picking up 1 kill but causing T1 to be full aced. At the fourth Drake, both teams needed to secure this objective to win. If T1 get it, it's the soul. If TL get it, they'll have time to re-establish control of the game again, making it hard for T1 to win until Zeri comes online. The sequence that followed was a complete fiesta. Faker tried to flash onto Yon and ended up trading summoner spells, then TL saw an angle to dive onto the no-flash Annie to try to kill her, which they do successfully. Then Pace and Doran come in to try to clean up as Quid killed himself with a funny-looking Galio ult. Pace is able to chase down a triple kill, and it seems like T1 will secure the soul, but then Morgan and Core JJ decide to perform some heroics, finding a way to shut down the Zeri and giving TL a chance to respawn and contest the Drake for another 50-50. Owner and Jose get to the Drake around the same time, but just like how it's been for the entire series, Owner wins the smite battle yet again, and T1 now have a Cloud Soul Zeri. With this soul, T1 spend a moment to fix their side waves, then once the angle arises, they immediately start Baron and force TL to come contest it. Faker has a great angle and forces TL to try to turn on him, which he flashes away from, and with the Nocturnal blown, Pays with zero fear eased into the entirety of TL, grabbing a quadra kill as TL then ends the game easily. TL made it fun for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's a 3-0 for T1 and a series that didn't feel particularly close. Overall, I didn't think the series was amazingly high level from either team.
True.
T1 did decisively prove they were the better team by far, but it wasn't necessarily a clean path there, as they gave TL angles in both games 2 and 3. Doran was outlaned by Morgan fairly consistently, Owner had a few bad mid-game sequences that made games difficult, and Pays was a bit too hyphy at times. I don't expect these issues to persist though, and I still believe T1 will make it to the main stage without too much issue. For TL, I actually got more than I was expecting. My biggest criticism of them in my team breakdown was their drafting, with over-reliance on comfort picks and not having clear enough game plans as a unit. Even if I didn't think they won all their drafts today, I appreciated their willingness to try to find good combos and creative angles for their draft identities, and this was a step they needed to take if they wanted to have a better chance of beating the other play-in teams. The players otherwise performed roughly as expected. With this first series out of the way, we
All right. So I think Poro and I had the same thing. I have Faker being the top dog and the first star in the series, of course. By the way, owner Lee Sin 326, 4.5 KDA, 6.64 kill participation, and 14.5k damage. For my three stars of the series, Faker was my top dog, 13, 6, and 25, 6.3 KDA, 69% kill participation, and 72.2k damage. Owner, the second star, 11, 9, and 24, 3.8 KDA, 64 kill participation, and 44.1k damage. Carrier 4, 12, and 34, 3.2 KDA, 69 kill participation, and 28.2k damage. And my team of the series was sadly Yawn, 11, 15, and 18, 2.6 KDA, 63 kill participation, and 16.1k damage. Like I said, I think if you look at this series as a whole, you say that T1 easily swept 3-0. But if you look at this from a wider lens and from a drafting perspective, I think you can say that T Law did fine, mixing it up with the drafts, not going comfort, doing what they can, and they give T1 a scare, a little bit of a scare. Now, I still saying T1's going to make it through the playing stage, and that's fine. But as I said, T1 internationally is known to be slow starters, but then ramp it up and just destroy everybody. Well, almost everybody. So, yeah, I am not that surprised about this series at all, except, Durant did not play great, you know, and that's pretty much it. Um, I think that's pretty much it. I think Doran did not perform well in that game at all. I don't think so. And I think it's more of T1 needs to step up against better competition. I know Common Corp is like better competition than them, better than T Law. But if I were T1, I should just beat them senselessly. Just beat them senselessly right now. Just 3-0 them, dominate the games, don't make any circus kind of plays, and I think they're good. And I think if they do that, I think they'll be fine. So I expected nothing from this series, and yet I'm kind of disappointed. Kind of disappointed. But if you think that disappoints you, KCDCG is just Poro. Just talk about game one, I guess.
The Game 1 draft is funny to me because it's super on brand for both teams. Deep Cross want to fight, so they immediately prioritized Lisa and Camille so they can run around fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Casey want meta team fight combos, so they went Rumble and then Nefiri Oriana. Deep
Mm-hmm.
Cross then grabbed Mbessa into the Rumble, which isn't a good matchup, but allows him to have a pick that can launch forward with the rest of the team. And then Casey grabbed yet another strong combo with Caitlyn Bard. Fong rounds out the draft with Ezreal, an AD carry that could be independent while the rest of his team goes crazy. Overall, I think both teams got a draft they want.
Yeah.
KC has strong champions and clear win conditions, but Deep Cross have counterplay. Camille and Lee Sin can link up to set Oriana or Rumble behind, and they have good fight starters to try to mechanically outplay. I would take Casey's comp overall, and I think Casey will likely win, but this is the exact style Deep Cross wanted to go, and they should feel comfortable in this one. The game itself did feel very much like a Deep Cross game, and they stayed true to themselves from start to finish. The jungle mid support trio of Deep Cross tried to do a lot in early game, some of it sticking and some of it not. Yahoo was under pressure in lane phase, needing to take some awkward recalls, but he did a good job of not actually dying. Camille was trapped in lane a fair amount as well due to Caitlyn Bard having prio, so the game remained pretty low in kill count. The first kill of the game came off a Yike invade where he simply underestimated the fact that Camille could show up. If you look at the timing of the E-flash, Camille was never actually envisioned for the Nefiri, and Yike wasn't able to flash the initial CC that led to his eventual death. Deep Cross also had some other nice looking sequences, like one where Hongswo and Feng had a good dive cover for the Grubs play to make sure nobody died.
Mm.
Overall, though, Casey's map play was simply better. Despite Deep Cross looking decent with the eye test, it was always Casey who got the better end of small trades everywhere, and the game was super stable for them for the first 15 minutes.
And also, if you look at the score, Deep Cross Gaming are going to be like the dominate, aggressive team. They're going to be bloody and out, get like 7, 8 kills in like 10 minutes. Of course, if you get like one kill within like 9 minutes in a game like this, yeah, it's solely over in terms of macro and map state and all kind of stuff. It's yeah, Casey is just better map wise. It is what it is, I guess.
1 minute later, Deep Cross pulled the trigger on a pretty bad bot side play where they didn't account for Yahoo's teleport. Florin tried to ult Rumble to start a combo play, but with the damage not being there, the Oriana ended up picking up a double kill, giving Casey a large lead. Right after that, we got a Pop 9 moment as he found a great mechanical outplay onto Yike. Tacked on the Bard, Warthog to dodge the Bard ult, then weaving a nasty Q around 3 dogs to kill Nefiri. He even gets Bard's flash at the end, the cherry on top. Plays like these are what Pop 9 is best at, and he can look really good when he finds enough momentum.
Holy
Still
jeez.
though, KC are the team with 2 Drakes and the gold lead, so Deep Cross have yet to find real footing in the game. Chelsea and Pop 9 still try to link up to make plays, and they find a good one at 18 minutes, catching out Bard too far up in River. In 99% of Bard games, it's totally fine for Busio to play like this. Against Camille, though, a tool to make Portal useless, he's getting punished. Pop9 and Chelsea then walk into blue side jungle for some control, and catch Yahoo out of position as the Lee Sin lands a nice insect to get another kill. Now the gold is even heading into the third Drake fight, and this fight is super chaotic. Busio is caught out at first, but is able to ult himself to stall for the rest of the team. Kana and Yike go flying in to help, Fong shifts into the fight, and everyone else starts clicking in that general direction as well. Notably, Pop9 deals 0 damage in this teamfight as he tried to walk through a choke to join, getting Flash Orianna ulted and then one-shot by the KC carries. Because of this, even though the start of the fight looked promising for Deep Cross, it ended in a 4-for-3 in KC's favor. Kalist is caught out mid by a Camille combo and dies again, which prompts Deep Cross to try and start a Baron, but no matter what they do, it seems like they can't actually pull away with any sort of real lead, as KC is able to get them off of it. At 24 minutes with good vision, Deep Cross think they have a trap for KC, and they start a sneaky Baron. KC are not in position to contest well at all, and don't realize Deep Cross is on it for sure until the far side sees it at 6k, and it seems like the Baron will be secured. Busio throws a Bard ult onto it though, giving time for KC to get there and contest. Deep Cross secure the Baron, but KC then land a series of great ults. Kana throws an equalizer right onto Ezreal's face.
See, Morgan, that's what you should have done in the last game, man. That you should have done in the last series. Yes, you lost Baron, but at least you got the Rumble. Just ult there. You get ult there and you're fine. Morgan should have done that the last game. But also, man, Western teams need to learn where Baron is, man. That's two series in a row, man. Their Baron priorities need to be studied, I guess.
Zoning him away and chunking him for most of his health. Yahoo lands a 2-man Ori ult, chunking both Pop9 and Florin. Then, in true Deep Cross fashion, despite everyone's health bars hurting, they think they see a turn angle out to Rumble and full send it into the middle of KC where they are all killed in a 4-for-1. Then, Feng walks up about 5 screens too far forward on midwave, and he's chased down and killed, and when the rest of Deep Cross move towards the area to try to salvage the play, they are all killed as well and are completely aced. With KC having a 7k gold lead after these 2 sequences, all it takes is one more good team fight off a Baron turn, and they're able to walk it in and end game 1. This is a very on-brand way for Deep Cross to lose. They showed a lot of aggression and a few very solid mechanical outplays, but KC never lost control of the game for even a second, and their superior map play in teamfights led to what ended up being a fairly easy win. With some of Deep Cross's best champions out, it'll be hard for them to find good enough drafts for their style to win many games. In the Game 2 draft, I actually don't mind what Deep Cross have. KC are able to grab Vi, which they are very good at, and they also take Cassio, a champion who can potentially pair with the Vi ult for fights. Deep Cross respond with a super strong jungle support though with Jarvan Nautilus, and their first 3 is screaming that they want to find a mid pick that has kill pressure. The Anivia ban from KC feels wasted for that reason. Deep Cross do end up with the LeBlanc to round out their super powerful 3v3, and Florin goes blind Jax. A good pick to go here if Kana was able to is Pantheon, able to destroy Jax in lane and has good dive tools to pair with Vi and Vel in later teamfights. Instead, he opts for a bit of a handshake with Gnar, meaning the blind Jax went unpunished. When you zoom out, I feel like KC's draft is trying to do too many things. Gnar wants to decide, Vi wants to engage, Cassio wants to disengage, and Zeri wants to scale. For Deep Cross, Jarvan and Nautilus want to click mid and get LeBlanc fed, and then their comp is built for snowballing everywhere else after that. Regardless of what anyone thought about the draft though, it literally didn't matter because this was one of the biggest stomps we've seen. The early bot lane 2v2, which should be completely laneable for Senna Nautilus by the way, was a complete disaster for Deep Cross right out of the gate. Chelsea took one bad trade, then had to flash a second bad trade, and then died in extremely underwhelming fashion on the push-out later on. If you're dying to Zeri this early, it's already an FF angle. Deep Cross then try to kill mid, it doesn't really work, and then Yike finds a super easy top dive with Kana to set the Jax behind, meaning the map is losing everywhere. Yike then is in the area to counter gank an attempted mid lane play, and his presence combined with a good 2-man ult from Cassio is able to turn the play entirely, meaning Yahoo's flash being blown earlier nets absolutely nothing for Deep Cross. To rub salt in the wound on all of this misfortune so far, Busio steals the Drake from Pop9 in dramatic fashion as he feeds Zeri yet another kill, and the game is pretty much already over. There's not any real point to recapping the rest of the
Nope,
game, so I'll
nope,
just
nope,
montage some clips while talking about
nope, 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 nope. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't shield your eyes, guys. Shield your eyes, man. This is 18 plus rating kind of badness. Just shield your eyes, man. Just shield your eyes. Yeah, just shield your eyes.
it briefly. Casey ended the game with a 21k gold lead, only giving over a few kills when Deep Cross would full send everything they had to take down one person. Yike and Busio were everywhere, completely shutting out everything Pop9 and Chelsea tried to do, resulting in a massive jungle support gap. If you're Hongsuo or Florin, you can't even do anything but laugh, as the entire comp was built around the idea that Jarvan and Nautilus would be faster on the map, which they weren't. Easy stomp for KC, and we're moving on to Game 3.
Yeah.
Game 3 draft is one where I'm favoring KC. Their plan was to secure the Yunara Lulu lane for a solid bot lane pairing late and fearless, and then build for some team fighting around it. Deep Cross sent it super early on a Kiana angle, but it looks like a difficult Kiana game. I think Kiana is very strong right now, but navigating around both Talia rocks and Lulu Poly seems pretty straining. You can still get value out of Kiana anyway if she doesn't mind dying by being the first part of a combo piece, but then Deep Cross continued their draft without getting any big teamfight tools, making the Kiana somewhat useless. For KC's side, they have strong dueling power in teamfighting, making for a stable comp that is good at all stages of the game. I know the casters mentioned wanting Xiaoxi to take Blitz, but if he goes Blitz with these champions as his teammates, and Yike is able to find Mundo in 5, it would have been even worse than what they ended up with. At least Pyke forces Yike to go something with a little bit more early agency. Based on the draft, it's looking like a KC 3-0. Right at the start of the game, both bot lanes went for a 2v2 all-in. It's kind of a weird decision from Deep Cross because of Jin's level 1 being so much worse than Yunara's, and the result was that 7 summoner spells were used in a 1-for-1 trade where both supports got the kill, which isn't necessarily great for Deep Cross. Then Florin got solo kill level 3 trying to crash a wave, giving Kana an angle to get a massive amount of fury off of an E that led to an extra empowered Q. Nothing happens until 7 minutes when Xiaoxi finds a Pyke hook mid onto Talia, but this one is also a bit weird because Yahoo saw Pyke clear a control ward in the general vicinity not too long ago, so he knew Pyke was there. The wave is kind of fucked for him, so I get why he felt pressured to walk up anyway, but still. Luckily, Hongsuo misses the rise Q when he tried to flash forward, and Casey get away with a flash for flash trade. Then, at 9 minutes, Deep Cross finally open up their first real lead of the entire series. The play starts with Yike invading a Gromp, and Xiaoxi is there to land a hook. Casey see an angle to turn this fight starter into a full send on the enemy Jin, and they try to dive him. Both Yike and Callista end up getting tagged by Ryze and Pyke under the tower though, and they both die to turret shots, feeding over a double kill. Kana is then caught as well trying to disengage, and it's a 3-for-0 in favor of Deep Cross. Pop9 then kills himself on a Raptors invade, but is able to go top with Hongsuo to take down Renekton again. A bit later, Florin is able to make a good tempo play by stepping forward under tower to cancel a recall, baiting 4 people on Casey to stay on the map to try and kill him, in which he simply ults out. This would be an insanely good play for Deep Cross, but Xiaoxi runs in and kills himself trying to find a pick on Talia, and this also baits Florin far enough up that he eventually has to burn Flash to get out. Pop9 kills himself again topside, right in front of Herald this time, and now, just like that, the entire gold lead is gone.
Yeah, I can guess who's the team of the series based on this one.
Cross tried to accelerate again with a bot side play, and it should be good since Yahoo uses E on basically nothing, which should be a big go button for the team, but Pop9 hesitates on the engage, and Florin, who did go in right away, misses a Q on the target he stunned, so the fight starter is super ugly. With everyone on Deep Cross committing bot, their tempo is already weird, and Casey take full advantage. Yike flies in and picks up a kill, then uses the Herald to crash into the bot tier 1, then drives it all the way to the mid tier 1, and then with Busio stalling all the members of Deep Cross in the same lane by baiting them to chase him forever, Yike has time to go back bot again with Kana, and they pick up 2 board kills. Additionally, out of a replay, Yike and Yahoo are able to get a pick onto the Rise, overall creating a 3k gold swing. Deep Cross show up for an extremely underwhelming 4th Drake contest where they basically throw their abilities half-heartedly and then walk away, and then Xiaoxi goes for a hook that is way too greedy. Knowing that with Pyke's cooldowns down, Deep Cross don't have tools to ward off and engage, Yike full sends it into the enemy team, and Casey initiate a massive teamfight that results in a 4-for-0 plus a Baron. Deep Cross find a few more kills here and there, and even get a pity Baron after Casey overstay trying to end, but the gold lead is way too massive, and the game is effectively unwinnable, resulting in the series ending 3-0 for KC. Overall, I would say I got what I expected out of this one. For KC, they had some messy moments here and there, with untimely deaths from all 5 members spread out among the first and third games, but for the most part, it was very obvious that the map play and teamfight coordination were on a much higher level, and even when Deep Cross did make plays that worked, Casey either had a strong cross-map answer, or Deep Cross would end up throwing the lead at some point anyway. Not a bad series for Casey to start MSI with.
True.
For Deep Cross, there's not much to take from this.
No.
Flaren was gapped hard by Kana in lane phase, which was to be expected, but the rest of his team, especially top 9 and Xiaoxi, played so poorly in the in-between moments that there was basically zero opportunity to try to get back into the game with any mid-game fights. Nobody on Deep Cross played well, but at the very least, it felt like they drafted the way they normally do, and had the same aggressive fighting mentality that they're known to have. Hopefully, they have a better series against TL, but at the moment, it's still looking like an 11th place exit is likely. Tomorrow, there are two more.
All right. So, before you're going to get my predictions, his predictions, let's just go through the entirety in numbers. Kana was my game 1 MVP, of course, with a Rumble 5-1 and 12, 17 KDA, 74 kill participation, and 26.7k damage. Yike was a game 2 and game 3 MVP, first on Vi, game 2, 6-1 and 14, 20 KDA, 65 kill participation, and 15.8k damage. And of course, he's Wukong, 10-2 and 10, 10 KDA, 80% kill participation, 34k damage. He's also my first star, my MVP of this series, 21, 6 and 36, 9.5 KDA, 72 kill participation, and 71.2k damage. Kana, 14, 6 and 28, 7 KDA, 53 kill participation, and 69.1k damage. And Galist, 25, 6 and 27, 8.7 KDA, 66 kill participation percentage, 98.1 damage. And for team of the series, Pop 9 in the jungle, 6, 17 and 10, 0.9 KDA, 55 kill participation percentage, as 32.6k damage. So as I think he mentioned it, I think this is almost feels like the series was expected. Although you can say that draft wise, DCG played their own style and it was working in some cases, but it's like macro, team fighting, map movement, all in favor of KC despite the numerous mistakes. And especially that game 2 was kind of like ugly. So yep, I pretty much got my prediction spot on. Literally spot on. So now it's time for Poro's predictions. And of course, I'll have my predictions on my shorts. But let's see what Poro thinks. Let's see what Poro thinks about these two series.
Four series, first being KC versus T1, and then TL versus Deep Cross. Today was a 6-game day, and tomorrow definitely has a chance to be the same, but there's probably a higher chance of seeing at least one series make it to 4. With KC versus T1, even though T1 had some shaky game states, their players still played fast and active, and had a lot of the same strengths they did domestically. Both series were fairly messy from all 4 teams, and I'm taking T1 3-1 over KC.
All
I'll give KC one game because I do think if T1 hands KC the same game states TL got today, KC would convert at least one of them. Then for TL versus Deep Cross, I do still think Deep Cross have chances to take a game purely based off of getting random leads off of individually good mechanical plays, and we saw flashes of that with the Pop 9 Lee Sin or the Xiaoxi Pike. If it happens, I don't think I'd be too surprised. I still think TL is a much more solid macro team than Deep Cross though, and I'll go TL 3-1 for this series as well. Either way, hopefully at least one of the series will go past 3 games, so we don't get back-to-back 6-0s. With that, that's day 1's recap done.
Okay. Thank you, Poro. And we'll see you tomorrow, of course. So yeah, I think it's gonna be my shorts, but I'm thinking the same thing. I just want more games. I just want more than 3 games, okay? I listen, as a viewership, as a I mean, let's be honest, last year we had like multiple game 5s, of course, but like we started off in the wrong foot. You know, teams expected to win. It is what it is, all kind of stuff. Yeah. So I just want more games. It is what it is. So, anyways, thank you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Poro, of course, for his channel, of course, and make sure you subscribe to my channel. And yeah, we got more League of Legends stuff and more MSI stuff tomorrow with him and probably for me. Yeah, so enjoy your day. Go Canada in the World Cup. Maybe South Africa might win. Just want South Africa to win. And I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.